Yeah, hi. Good evening,
Hello.
Shri MD.
Okay.
My gratitude and thanks for giving this time.
Not at all. Not at all.
These are COVID times, so I think video has become mainstream. So uh, it's good to see that you have a all-equipped studio and the technology is working to spread
Yeah, nowadays,
your message.
because during the COVID season, I had to, talk to so many people. So we put up a professional setup here. Because I've not been traveling.
So, sir, you've been quite privileged in a way that I read your autobiography and you met Maheshwarnath Babaji quite early in your life.
Right.
I think you were 8 year old when you got the blessing under the, the jackfruit tree.
Yes.
So, do you think your life would have been different if you had found it later in your life, like we are finding you now at this age?
Yeah. I'm sure it would have been different. Uh, well, I was inclined toward the spiritual path, but then I think if I had not met him at that turning point, I could have got lost, although I might have retraced my steps, but then it would have been a little more harder for me. So, yes, I think it made a lot of difference to me that I met Maheshwarnath Babaji. But then there is a lot of background work before we met, which we don't know in this life, right?
Hmm.
That is to be thought about sometimes. If you read Journey Continues, you'll see my links with him and
Yes, you have
why
spoken about your past lives. Yes,
I got this great opportunity to meet him so early in my life. Yes. Hmm.
right. And so, sir, is it the Guru's grace that finds the disciple, or is it life which connects the two? How does it happen? How does it work? Mysteriously.
It's not mysterious. What looks mysterious in this field is what we cannot explain looks mysterious. When you look at it and explain, there is no more mystery out there. So let me do. See, first you said disciple and guru. Now this has to be looked at carefully. Guru cannot be defined easily. We leave that. Disciple, we know, can be. I personally have this understanding that when different people come upon this quest in different stages of their life and in different ways. If you look into the history of yogis, or at least known yogis, there are many unknown. I sometimes think there are great unknown yogis more than the known ones. Having said that, let's say the known ones, if you look in, you'll find that some get to this path quite young, and they're very young. Uh, some take some time to find it. And there are certain circumstances which take them towards it. So, first, let's look at those who find it when they're young. This is because they've done a lot of work, as I said some time back, in their past lives, which is not visible to us in this life, generally, unless they tell us or something like that. So, and some of them may not even know complete details of what happened. But there is a background, there is a lot of work put into it. And in this particular life we are talking about, which we know, they have come mainly to fulfill the incomplete parts which are left. This is what Krishna talks about and defines as Yoga Brashta. You know, in I think sixth chapter, Arjuna says to Krishna in the Gita, "You say all these things, but it is not so easy to look at that, even to Krishna." So I am quite accustomed to people saying that. we, you say all this, but it is not so easy. I mean, not so in so many words, but this is what it implies. Yes, keep the mind like a flame without wind. I rather control the wind than do that. It's so difficult. So what happens to a person like me? Arjuna is asking this question. Who is neither there nor here, or neither here nor there, middle somewhere, not reach the goal, and yet gave up everything else to reach the goal. Where am I? What happens to me? I might die. Then what happens? So then Krishna explains to Arjuna, see, whatever bank balance you have in the spiritual field, you never lose it, however small it is. So you don't have to start from square one. Wherever you stop, whichever square you start from there. So there he says that this is a Yoga Brashta who, having worked hard and not yet reached the goal, is made to be born under such circumstances that quite early in life they come across the path again and fulfill it.
Right.
That is one. So such people, if that is the case, then the Guru, who probably is watching, finds you. One way. The other is, actually nowadays there are few disciples, there are only gurus, unfortunately. So, so when somebody is very, very seriously searching for this path, and it can come about, let's leave the other Yoga Brashta aside. It's rare, not common. Some intelligent people, need not be intellectuals, but intelligent people, looking at life, realize they're matured enough to realize that this cannot be everything. There must be something beyond. I'm sure there are many such people. There's something beyond. We do all these things, then we die and we go and there's nothing. It can't be. There must be some meaning to all this drama that's going on. Some people realize it. And for some realize it even while just sitting on the desk and reading or writing, it suddenly clicks. That's because of the maturity of the thought process. Such cases, when it happens, real teachers are always looking for a good disciple. Unfortunately, it's difficult to find. When such a thing clicks, then someone is getting ready to guide somewhere. Two. Third, again, people, intelligent people, wake up when they have pain and sorrow. And they say, is this all there is to life? I work hard at this, but then I see that I'm in defeat mode. I'm falling into sorrow. Some people dying, I might die. This. And this happens also, people wake up and say, can we look for something else? Is there something else? Even when that process becomes strong, somebody comes. Yeah, the pointer need not be a well-known guru or a teacher, which may happen after a while. It could be anybody, a gardener in your house. Suddenly he might say, look, I was looking after that plant one morning and you're thinking about the same. What is this sorrow business? Say, so nicely it was coming up, now somebody has destroyed it in the morning, and that gardener at that point is your guru. See, what kind of guru did Arjuna have? A chauffeur who was driving his chariot. So it could be a driver. You know what I mean? So this is the second mode. Now there is a third mode in which which is, you may have thought nothing about these things. You're average, you're an intelligent person, of course. One is not a fool. And then you come across, due to various circumstances, somebody who seems to be different. You wonder, what is this guy now? Why is he happy all the time? What's happening to him? There's something different. You don't know what to define what that difference is, but there's something different. is it possible for me also to be like this? Now, this is the third mode of how this happened, or fourth mode. So in this case, what happens? It's like such a person is like a magnet. When I say magnet, not that attraction. I mean, it's a charged being. So any iron piece that goes close to this charged being has to somehow or the other become a magnet. Now,
So the only barometer of finding out the real guru is if we are seeing that magnet pulling us.
yes. So it's pulling you. And then not only pulling you, it's more than that. When you sit close to that person, even when your thought process flow close to such a being, you find that there's great relief. There's something more than ordinary life. This happens. This is another mode by which people turn to the spiritual path. So all I'm trying to say, the function of a guru or a teacher happens to different people in different ways. But it has to happen at some point, because it's largely unexplored territory. So it's good to have somebody who knows, who has traveled, which pit one falls into.
What's the highest purpose of the spiritual path, or what's the highest, I would say, goal of a spiritual path? Or is it just an endless path?
That is the great thing about the spiritual realization. Everything else has an end, whatever it is. Even our happiness has an end. And beyond that, you can get terribly bored after a while with the kind of happiness we. That's why people do something else. Here is something which is even greater than our cosmic system. There is no end to it. Every day is a new day. It's not as if you have done, you have discovered, and you have finished, and it's gone. No. Every day there is an unveiling happening, and it happens in different ways. See, the problem is generally people have some kind of a spiritual experience, and then they say they're satisfied, and they say, oh, this is spiritual experience. That's it. Because they have read also here and there, this is how it happens. So they identify with that and say this is it, and then they successfully seal further openings by saying this is what it is. So what happens, what they experience, they feed into their memory, and then it's the memory that has the experience and not the actual. I don't know whether, let's put it this way. Just as any other knowledge on earth, that thing which they call spiritual realization also becomes a memory. When this happens, then there is the real spiritual awakening is every minute, every second is opening in different ways. Now you are sitting in front of me in the screen. Certain things are happening which I have not encountered before. Manesar, I didn't see that. Haridwar, I didn't see that. I might have seen something else. This I am seeing for the first time, something happening here. So it is new, and the new and the present thing cannot be put into a memory and put back, because all memory is in the past. Can you think of one memory which is in the present? So if you can remember a spiritual experience, it ceases to be a spiritual experience.
So in a way, all experiences and knowledge, past knowledge, is a barrier.
Absolute barrier. You see, even when you, this is why, in fact, I think you should sometimes read Yoga Vasishta. Good translations available. Or what is knowledge? Let's put it straight. What is knowledge? Knowledge is, now I don't know about something. It could be an idea or it could be a thing. At the moment I don't know. Then I say I should know it. Then I know it. using mantra. Once I know it, what happens? Then it's put into a cubby hole of my memory, saying, yes, I know it. Okay. So when I say I have knowledge of that, whatever it means that I am able to pull out expertly the information which has been stored in my memory in that little cubby hole somewhere. That's what I call knowledge, right? I pull it out and so if I am an expert in doing that in any second, then I have full knowledge of it, total knowledge of it. Now, that is the knowledge we know of, any knowledge, including so-called spiritual, because somebody has said something. So I have memorized it, put it in my head, and I'm an expert. I'm able to bring it out any time I want. That is not my experience. This experience I have put in my memory. Now, therefore, all knowledge is a memory. And if it is a memory is always a thing of the past. It cannot be a thing of the present. Present does not require a memory, it's there. So, the truth is that which cannot be put into a memory slot. Why? Because it's not something that has happened in the past. Because anything when it becomes memories in the past, it's a thing that's happening in front of us every day in the present. Right. A spiritual experience, it's always fresh and new. You can't categorize it, which is why in the Ishavasya Upanishad, sorry I am carrying on this question for some time, it is very important. In the Ishavasya Upanishad, there is a statement which says that he who worships ignorance enters into darkness. And the next statement is, first statement, andam tama pravishanti yo avidyayam upasate. Second sentence, he who worships knowledge, vidya, he enters into greater darkness as it were. Now this is this is from the Shruti, from the Upanishad, from the Ishavasya Upanishad. That means, this is the reason why it is said, because if it is the truth, it cannot be defined, memorized, gone back and felt. It's here now. Why? Because the truth is something which can't be defined actually. You can define a physical object. You can say this Krishna is here, image of, or far, or you can say it is near. If somebody says tad dure tad vatantike, so yet far and yet so near, what is, how does one go about it? Which means it is all pervading. If it is all pervading, do we need to go from one end to the other? Suppose it's all pervading. Let's say that I believe in the Shruti, suppose I say, and it says it is all pervading. If it is all pervading, is there a linear path towards it? Cannot be. It is here. So when all moving stops, perhaps one touches that. And that moving, I am saying, includes also storing the experience in one's memory and comparison. See, suppose I go on to the terrace one night on a full moon day or a crescent moon day or whatever, and I suddenly see the moon. For a second, there is something happening to me. I never expected the moon. I see it and I am stunned. It is a moment of truth actually. Moment of truth need not happen inside, it can happen outside. So, I see it there. But then what happens? That moment of thought is soon overtaken by my memories. Finished, it's over. Then I think, oh, in 2011, I saw a moon in Rishikesh on the banks. My moon is gone now. Why? Because I have started comparing the other moons, which I am going back and depending on my memory. But it is very difficult to hold on to the truth without depending on memory because we feel insecure. We want to say so and so said it is the truth, otherwise we feel very insecure. We can't stay with the reality and the truth. And the reality can be quite ugly at times. It need not be what we. That's why Bhadrakali is depicted as a terrible being. Reality of life. So when
Mentioned Yoga Vasishta. So, does yoga really accelerates our perception, or to perceive this reality as it is?
yes, what yoga can do and does do. I'm talking about yoga in the ultimate sense of the term, not simply asanas and all, which are okay. I practice asanas daily, good to keep your body and mind healthy, fine. True understanding of yoga means Yoga Vasishta, there is no mention. You see, you know what Yoga Vasishta is. It's the great sage Vasishta talking to Rama in Ayodhya, in the palace, because Rama gets depressed. Can you imagine that? And says, what is the meaning of life? Why are we doing? So, Vishwamitra, see what happens, you know the story of how Vishwamitra comes to claim the boys to take them to the forest. Dasharatha has promised Vishwamitra. But then he feels bad. He said, why are you taking Rama? He's only 16 years old. How can you fight the Rakshasa? Actually, he feels, what will happen to my son? So Vasishta intervenes and says, King, you can't say this because you promised. If you promise and don't keep your promise, who will keep the promise in this country? Well, now it is very common with the rulers, but I am just talking about those days when dharma really worked. So I promise, and then they say, go and fetch Rama, let's ask him. So the attendant goes to fetch him and he comes back and says, sir, I don't know what to tell Rama. He's there. He had gone for a trip to Himalayas and all and come back. And he says, what is all this nonsense? He's not eating properly, he's not drinking properly, he's not interested in the dancing girls. In the palace there are all these dancing girls and so on. You know why. So all this is happening. He is not interested. He is saying, what is this life which is going to. So Vasishta says, ask him that I am calling him. This is Guru. Then Rama opens the dialogue in Yoga Brashta saying, what is this life all about? What are these Rakshasas? What is this life? Why am I carrying on like this? We are born and we die, and pain and suffering. And Vasishta begins to teach him. This is Yoga Vasishta. So there yoga title is given not because it's some kind of a practice, but it is some kind of a enquiry. Like the Bhagavad Gita, all the 18 chapters are called yoga, from Arjuna Vishada Yoga onwards. So yoga is a mode by which you try to find the truth. This is what yoga is. So therefore the meaning of yoga here, see, without a healthy body, you cannot have a healthy mind. Without a healthy mind, you cannot even inquire. So first steps are laid. And then begins the inquiry. And through the practices like Kriya and so on, there are many other practices. You open up your understanding and intelligence so that it grasps subtle things. Subtle thoughts can be grasped. Unless that is grasped, you cannot go beyond. So basically it's the opening of your conditioning. Not making something happen, but opening your conditioning so that when something happens, it is registered. This is the perfection that you look for in yoga. So you have to have certain kinds of food so that the gross influence of food is not in your body and mind. You have to keep your brain free from being intoxicated with substances, because then you cannot think clearly. This is not trying to throw away thought. It's trying to make it subtler and subtler and subtler, till one day it just becomes quiet. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, then all the vrittis are removed, and then in that chitta, according to Yoga Vasishta, again, since we are on the subject, that mind then in its calmness and quietness is no longer the mind, it is the Purusha himself, itself, let's say. There are no two things then, it's only one, and that is pure consciousness. The mind itself does not exist as a separate entity. The mind exists as a separate entity as long as it has vrittis. When the vrittis are gone, there is no separate entity. It's only consciousness. This is the meaning of yoga in Yoga Vasishta, and also in the ultimate sense, this is what yoga is all about.
Right. So, sir, in your book, Yoga Also for the Godless, you take the notion of creator out.
Of
You take the notion of creator out, from a yogi's perspective, or at least you have told that it can also be done and devotion can happen.
also, please, the title of the book is Yoga Also for the Godless, not Yoga for the Godless. Right?
Also.
So, if you want to have an idea of a creator, I am sure there is some creator behind all these complexities. All I am trying to say, to achieve the fundamental understanding of yoga, there is no need of having a concept of creator.
Right. So truth can be realized without the clutches of religion, belief systems,
Absolutely.
rituals.
Absolutely. Truth is here with us. We don't need anything for that. If we acknowledge that this is possible, it is possible. Okay, let's put it this way. So, suppose one religion says, oh, you will find God or truth only through this way. Or another religion says you will find it only through this way. Then which is the right way? And everybody seems to say we are right. This is the problem. Unfortunately for us, the ancient system of yoga and Vedanta in India does not speak that way. It's very interesting to note. Unlike many religions which follow one book and one teacher or one prophet, here the inputs are multiple. And even not only are the inputs multiple, the rishi has no what you call a, when you write an article, you write your name. What's it called? Byline. No bylines. Go to the Upanishads. Rishis are discussing matters where nobody says, I say so. In fact, they say, so the ancients said. Iti Shushruma Purvesham, so said the ancients. They don't want to say, I am saying this.
So the only thing that one has to do is to keep a clear mind and, be on the path of yoga, and the truth will reveal itself one
Truth
fine
is
day.
there. Truth is there. We need to just take out the wheels one by one. It's very interesting. In this context, the Sufis have done a lot of work. You cannot deny that. Nobody can. And there is one particular book called Mantiq Ut-tair, which means in translation a conference of the birds. Conference of the birds. This is written by somebody called Farid Attar. His last name is Attar because he used to make attar, manufacture attar, chemist. So, in that, it's a beautiful story of how all the birds of different species join together and say, that's why it's called conference of the birds. They all come together and they say, we have to find the truth. Why are we just hanging around like this? Let's find the truth. This life is so transient. So comes a hoopoe bird. In this story, the hoopoe is the guru, is the leader. So the hoopoe bird comes and says, I will lead you through to this truth. Come with me. So they go through various complicated cases and difficult circumstances, but they're all one-pointedly searching for the truth. Finally, they reach the top of a hill, and there are some curtains. Now the hoopoe bird says, now that we have searched for all this for so long, we are going to find that. We have gone through so much difficulties while traveling, and we have been misled, we have come back again to the path, and so on and so forth. It's like as if there are countless lives one is searching, something like that. Now I will remove these curtains, probably these are the final curtains. So they keep removing the curtain one by one, one by one. Finally nothing is left except a round mirror. And the birds look at that mirror and the hoopoe says, this is the truth, you. You know what I am saying? So, depending on the kind of bird, it goes through difficult circumstances. Circumstances may be different, but when one is keen on finding the truth, one doesn't matter what happens, one has to find it. And when you find it, where is it? It's your own reflection.
Right. So, sir, I remember you use one line which is decondition your mind and conditioning of your body.
Correct.
So does meditation really helps us to decondition our mind, or is there a greater purpose to meditation?
Meditation, that word itself is a little bit, it's on a larger context we should look at, because there are different kinds of what we call meditation. If you go by the traditional understanding, meditation means dhyana. But then before dhyana there is dharana and then there is samadhi. So when you say dhyana, then it merges into samadhi. That's what it actually means. So meditation, when we use the word, it covers an entire gamut. Thinking of an image and worshipping is also meditation. Trying to go deep within and finding one's own identity is also meditation. Meditating on the blissful feeling within the self is also meditation. So it's a word with many connotations. But yes, one thing is clear. Meditation of some kind or the other is required, basically because the mind is scattered. You know, the mind in the normal state, most of us, it's scattered, it is not collected together, and it has many distractions, it has many tensions, many opposing thoughts. So it's a tortured mind mostly. And such a mind loses a lot of energy in its distractions. Here in this search for the truth, we need all the energy that we can summon. We can't afford to lose it. Therefore, the practice of meditation basically is to be free of these distractions, which Patanjali calls vrittis. Basically, they are distractions. When all the distractions are gone, the mind becomes calm, quiet, tranquil, one-pointed. You require such a sharp mind to penetrate through appearance and find the reality. This is the function of meditation.
Right. So yoga, like what is the popular view of yoga now globally is more happening at the body level, where.
Which is not bad, You need to have a healthy body and a proper, strong, healthy body, sensitive body, before the mind can even think of meditating. Otherwise, you can sit half an hour, then your body and limbs become stiff and you move out. It requires a great deal of strength, so it's fine. Also, it's a good, those who practice yoga very soon go into the higher aspects of it. They begin with automatic, they begin with physical, and then in the end when they sit down quietly, which is required, either sitting or shavasana, the mind is calm, they discover something different, and then the journey goes on. One of the reasons why I gave this attractive title to this book is that at least let them start practicing yoga. Let them not worry, oh, this is not my belief, that is not my, So gradually, you see, moment you say religion, then they will be out of it. They will say, no, we don't. I must tell you, in this regard, I have to again tell you. Last year I went to Moscow. You will not believe the number of groups that study yoga here in Moscow. In the city of Moscow, there are 12 groups within the city itself, where I was staying, of course, and everybody is seriously interested into yoga. My only problem was the language. So there were these young girls, Russian girls, who translated my talks into Russian. And while translating, they turned around and asked me, "Are we right? Are we translating?" I said, "How do I know?" I hope so.
So according to you, time has now come for yoga to become a global mainstream lifestyle.
100%. 100%. And I'm very glad, whether you politically are on the same page or you're not, but this government has done, I don't know about the government, the Prime Minister has introduced this through the International Yoga Day. Very good step, because the UN passed it only after a suggestion went from him. Because I know for a fact that he also practices yoga regularly. It's a fact. So I think it's an important step to globalize yoga. Of course, there is a danger, of course, because all kinds of people say this is yoga, this is yoga. All right, fine, it doesn't matter. After some time, it will clear up.
Right. So the commercialization of yoga is okay as long as it's spreading.
Look, we people pay a lot of money to go for entertainment, to do this, to do that. Why don't they spend a little bit on yoga? What's the harm? So you can't say entirely commercialized. Yeah, some people may be taking advantage. It happens in everything. It's human nature sometimes that it happens, but that's okay. I think as long as something useful is taught, it's okay. And everybody is not aiming to spiritual fulfillment. That's okay too. Let them improve their body, let them improve their mind, and then go further if they feel like it. No harm. At least they are prepared.
So, sir, you mentioned right food and the right environment uh, and the clarity of mind and all these things which will help you to progress. What about the right occupation and right relationships? Do they have a
Again,
role to play?
of course, they have a role to play. A person who wants to lead a yogic life should think carefully before getting into any profession, because you should see that it doesn't distract you from your practices. You will have to, for instance, yama niyamas are important. Like, for instance, try as much as possible to stick to the truth. Well, you are exempted if you are a lawyer, of course.
But if you're married, how do you stick to truth?
If you are married, you can you can stick to the truth. There is no harm. Many of the great yogis were householders, including the person sitting in front of you just now. So that is not a condition. You can be a yogi and still be a married person. But if both partners have some idea, then it will be easier. Nobody is saying that you should totally abstain yourself from any physical act. We are only saying that the mind should not be allowed, senses should not be allowed to run away with the mind. We should have a certain discipline. If you say no, it should be no. If you say yes, it will be yes. So that thing is important to note. Professions also. I was joking, but you didn't get the joke. I said stick to the truth as much as possible, except if you are a lawyer. Now what do? Many people then ask, we are lawyers, what to do? I said, I'm joking. What I'm trying to say is, you may go to court sometime and you may not be able to speak the truth. Okay, I agree with this. But at least understand that I have a weakness and I need to work on it. Good enough. See, look, nobody is 100% perfect. I have an addiction myself. I drink tea. Now I can get over it easy. It's not at all difficult. So what for? I mean, what is it? Nothing happens. So
Yeah, it's not a health hazard. It's not.
as long as you are not drinking 12 cups of tea a day, then it becomes so. See, this is, I was going to say this. Moderation is the key. Neither too much nor too little. When I say
So, yeah. So instead of having a denying approach to life, we should have a all accepting, balanced approach.
moderate approach to life, except you see, we can't run away anywhere. Even if you go to the Himalayas, I've seen people in bad state there. I have seen. If you want, you have good things, but there are also, and it's rather difficult nowadays even to find a place where you can have perfect isolation. That's also difficult. And if I sit for years inside a cave and meditate, what is the proof that I have improved? There's nobody there to test me.
Right. Yeah. So testing can only happen in the marketplace.
Exactly. In the world, when I communicate, when I'm with people, you see, we have tough problems sometimes in life. And I personally, I don't have any tough problem, but there is Satsang Foundation. At least I am supposed to be the head, supposed to be till I get out of it. Now, there are problems. Sometimes there are serious problems. Somebody has a property and it is near our place and he doesn't want to sell it to us. Big problem. Everybody says, what do I do? Do I not sleep? Do I, when I meditate, am I thinking of Varadarajulu or who? No, I am not. You see, but we put effort into it. But you are not affected by it. This is yogic life. When it is there, it is there. When it is not there, it is out of your mind. Gone. Finished. And the funny thing is, when we live that way, other than what people normally think, things work out. You show too much interest, nobody wants to do anything. You say, do if you want, they do it.
So what you're saying is essentially that we are all doing our roles and we should do our roles without getting too bogged down and
Bogged down, frustrated. This is the meaning of karma yoga. Do your work to perfection as much as you can. Don't worry if the results are good or bad. You have no control over it anyway. So what is the use of spending sleepless nights on it?
So that brings me to this whole point of can we create or manifest the future and like fructify our desires, or really have goals and try to achieve them, or just be easy with it that if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen,
That is not to do with the goals. No one, see this again in Yoga Vasishta, it's beautiful. Vasishta says those who think it is all destiny, whatever happens, he uses a beautiful word, he says they're donkeys. He, he actually says that. He says you put your mind into work. Whatever you strive for, put your effort into it. If the results don't come, that means somewhere along the line something is not okay. Don't say it is destiny. We use that word very often, without even thinking of what we are saying. When I get some fruits without any labor, which means I have put in labor in my past somewhere, not as if I have got it on a platter. You know what I mean? So, put your effort into all what you are doing. All I am saying is don't get frustrated if it does not work immediately. Move forward. Study oneself and see that every failure offers us an opportunity to move forward, not only in spiritual life but also in material life. What happens is once we fail, then we get bogged down and we spend another year worrying about that. Can't we keep it aside and say, let me look, what happened? And then move forward and try to correct it. This is yogic life.
so it's a continuous improvement. It's like Japanese have kaizen.
Continuous, yeah, what is that you said? Some word? Japanese
Kaizen.
word? Kaizen.
It's a
What is it?
manufacturing term. Kaizen is a Japanese manufacturing quality practice where there is continuous improvement. The focus is on
We
continuous
need to
improvement.
continuously improve. They are right. Those fellows are right. Those chaps are right. There is to be continuous improvement, not hanging on to what has happened and say, oh, move. This movement is the movement of your life.
Right.
It doesn't stagnate and stay anywhere. A stagnant pool is a dangerous thing. A flowing river is better.
So one has to just learn to be happy with this moment of life.
We are the movement, sir. We are the movement of life. We can't see. When I say it's not moving, it's my artificial construct. I don't want to move. So here there are some people who come and they say we want to be with you forever and okay. Then after some time they want to go away. I don't feel bad because they are moving. They, their function is served, they are moving forward, it's fine, no problem. You know what I mean? You see, and a river, when it flows, it makes its own boundaries. Nobody makes a boundary for a river. It makes its own boundaries. A problem of the river comes when human beings make dams and artificially dampen it, thinking that it will give electricity, this, that. That's when floods take place, destructions take place. But a river left to itself flows, and in its flow it creates its own boundaries. Because without a boundary it can't flow. Now this is not an artificial boundary, it's a natural boundary. This is what life is all about. So if we can treat it, then it's a yogic life actually. This is a yogic life. I have lived with Maheshwarnath Babaji, my guru. He had no agenda. I used to wonder how can we manage without, where are we going today? Chalo. But he said, why do you want to know where we are going? Let's go. And then I learnt the beauty of it. You're walking on the banks of the river and you're just like that river, moving, you're going this way, you're going straight. Many things move on the surface, but you're not, you're moving. Sometimes a tree's branch broken, dry, it falls on it. But the flow doesn't stop, it takes it away.
So if half of the world becomes like that without any plans and without, just flowing like a river, how would the civilization survive?
I'm saying, has the civilization really survived? No. What is the civilization that we got today? War, pain, everybody is keeping against us. So what is this? That is this civilization? What we call civilization is going towards total uncivilized behavior. The wars, the killings, all that thing that is going on, we may not be affected by it in a small bubble, but it's happening. This is not civilization. Civilization is when everybody has a free mind. When I say free mind, there is not freedom to do what you want, please. That's why I said, when the river flows, it makes its own boundaries, otherwise it cannot flow. So, rules and regulations are fine, I understand. But the rules and regulations should not become such that it interferes with the flow of the mind. And if that's there, then we look at all human beings as the same part of the same flow. They are not different. That is civilization. Civilization is not building of magnificent palaces. And we have seen in Rome, if you go, the Colosseum in Rome, what is left there? Some pillars standing, bald, not even the roof to support. This is the result of all civilizations. Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were great civilizations. What is left with us? What is left with us is the quality of humanity that might have developed, at least in a few. That is left. Everything else.
Right. So in your lifetime, have you seen the collective consciousness rising in this world, or it's going towards the dark ages? So there's this whole concept of yugas in the spiritual world, and so are we going to a brighter future? I mean, I know they call it, there is a circle, and we keep, rising the consciousness and it goes back. So, in which direction are we heading? Upward or downwards?
I think upward. I think upward. Although all the signs outside may appear to be that we are going downward, this is a washing up that's happening. This is a cleaning that's happening. We have, according to the traditional calculation, we have just passed about half of Kali Yuga. There is still much left. During this season, lot of washing will take place. But the movement will be towards betterment. When I say betterment, it need not necessarily be what we call the overtly civilizational betterment, like more building, more industry. The mind, quality of the mind is definitely going to improve. Very soon we will end, not very soon, in some years we will end up not being just frontal lobe human beings, but human beings in which other parts of the brain also function.
So I know you have mentioned about multi-universes in many conversations. So do you think there is humanity or there is life in certain other universes which could be of a higher consciousness?
I fully agree with this. This is human ego that thinks that we are the highest perfection of evolution, and then nothing. Really, it is endless. Nobody knows where the end is. There are worlds where there are people who, when you compare our intelligence to theirs, it's like a 2-year-old child's. Believe me. Because so they have other ways of finding out and understanding things, the instruments of which have not been perfected in us. Their bodies may be different, they need not be like our bodies. All this is there. We like to think that we are the only world which is there, because that it kind of breaks our ego, to say that there may be other greater beings out there.
So does the life continues in different planets as well?
Yes, of course. From my understanding, if the soul that is in the physical body, it can go to others and it can develop. And then people say, oh, it was in heaven, hell, this sphere, that sphere. There are worlds, and there are also in the world there are realms. Look, in this place where we are sitting, there may be another realm or a dozen other realms, but their rate of vibration or rate of frequency may be such that they are here and passing through us and we don't see it. When you sleep at home and if you are alone, even if your wife has gone on a holiday, you are actually not alone. No, this is frightening, don't think of it.
So there are like 7 billion worlds. If there are 7 billion people, 7 billion realms.
We can't count like that, but there are several, let's put it that way. So that means what? That means what? The human being is not so limited as we think. He can go beyond. He or she, the human. We try to limit it to only this physical world that we know of, but we are multidimensional in reality. We've still not explored. I am saying that in future, gradually, slowly, even in scientific research and so on, people will come to understand that we are multidimensional. This is the major step in revolution, evolution and revolution. I am now trying to get this idea into a thing like IIT Delhi. If you look at the YouTube, exploring consciousness has become a subject.
So consciousness has become now a scientific subject, which is a good thing. And the impact of it on the health and well-being.
Yeah. Like WHO, the WHO has now added that health is not just physical health, it's also mind's well-being. Otherwise, there is no health. And then go one step beyond and say human being is not confined to this conditioned human, but much beyond. You can't use the word God, then the scientists will run away. I was about to say we are not just human beings, we are gods. But you say that word and they react.
Yeah, but even in science, there is God's particle, and
God particle. And of course, there is our good friend Richard Dawkins. I wish to meet him sometime in the US and have a nice course of dialogues with him. I think his idea of God is the Semitic God. It is not the Upanishadic. In fact, if Karl Marx had read the Upanishads, studied the Upanishads, his idea would have been different. When they God, their religion, they mean Semitic, There is one God sitting up there, almighty, making people and throwing them down. They not behave, whipping them, and constantly demanding that he be praised. That's like
the Vedantic idea of the creator and creation being one, and so is that where the world may converge someday?
Yes, I think so. If things go okay, and if we put in a little bit of effort, maybe that's where we will be moving forward. And that's essential to expand our spiritual consciousness. It can't be confined to just.
So it's just a fantasy of the creator that all of us are existing.
It's not a fantasy, it's the expression, or rather a manifestation of the consciousness that this is all happening. The moment you realize that as your true center, then all this manifestation looks different to you. You see divinity in every manifestation. See, there you have behind you a lotus, and there is some water and there is a reflection and the water at the bottom. Unfortunately, all we see is the reflection, we don't see the lotus. Here you see in the picture, because it is a artist's presentation. An artist is like God in some way. They put out things which you can only imagine onto canvas.
So what we see is the manifested world, what we don't see is the unmanifested.
The reflection, this is perfect, and it looks so perfect, and we could think it's the only reality. That is what problem. So I think now we should wind up, sir.
It's been wonderful talking to you, and hope to have many such conversations with you, and to invite you someday to this part.
I'm happy to work.
Okay, sir. Okay.
God bless.